Captain Lisa Martinez walked through the long metal hallways of the space station. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor as she checked the time on her wrist. 3 days. They only had 3 days left before the biggest event in human history would begin. The space station was huge. It floated in the dark space between stars, far from Earth. They called it New Geneva, and it was humanity's first home among the alien worlds. Lisa had been the captain here for 2 years now. She knew every room, every hallway, every sound the station made when the big engines were running. But today felt different. Today she could feel the worry in the air like a heavy blanket. Lisa stopped at a big window and looked out into space. Ships were coming from all directions. Strange ships that did not look like anything humans had ever built. Some were round like bubbles. Others were long and twisted like metal snakes. A few seemed to be made of pure light that hurt to look at directly. These were the alien ships. They carried visitors from dozens of different worlds, all coming to New Geneva for the Galactic Cultural Exchange. Lisa had read about some of these aliens in reports, but seeing their ships made it all feel real in a way that scared her. Captain Martinez. A voice came from behind her. Lisa turned around. Ambassador Paul Rodriguez was walking toward her with papers in his hands. His face looked tired and worried. Paul was a good man who had spent his whole life learning how to talk to people from different countries on Earth. Now he had to learn how to talk to beings from different planets. How are the preparations going, Paul? Lisa asked, though she could already guess the answer from his expression. Paul shook his head slowly. Not good, Captain. Not good at all. I just finished reading the reports about what the other species are bringing to show us. We are in trouble. Lisa felt her stomach drop. Tell me, the Zephyrians are bringing something they call crystal song sculptures. According to our science team, these things can actually create new matter out of pure sound. They sing and rocks appear in the air. Paul looked at his papers. The Corvani have something called memory weaving. They can make you live someone else's experiences just by touching your mind. And the others? The list goes on and on. The Veltar can paint with light that changes colors based on your emotions. The Hive Mind Collective creates art by having thousands of their beings move together like one giant creature. Every single alien race is bringing something that seems like magic to us. Lisa leaned against the window and closed her eyes. The Galactic Cultural Exchange was supposed to be humanity's chance to prove they belonged among the advanced civilizations of the galaxy. Earth wanted to join the Andromeda Council, which would give humans access to new technologies, trade routes, and protection from hostile species. But there was a test. Any species that wanted to join had to prove they were not just smart with technology and weapons. They had to prove their culture was advanced too. They had to show art and music and stories that would impress beings who had been creating amazing things for millions of years. What do we have to show them, Paul? Lisa. Ascot Paul was quiet for a long moment. Paintings. Some sculptures? A few musicians who can play classical music. A dance group from New York. He paused. It all feels so small compared to what they are bringing. Lisa understood his worry. How could human art compete with aliens who could create matter from sound? How could a simple painting compare to art that could change reality itself? Maybe we should tell Earth Command that we need more time, Paul said quietly. Maybe we should wait a few more years until we have something better to show them. Lisa knew that Paul was probably right, but she also knew that Earth Command had spent huge amounts of money and resources to make this moment happen. Ships had traveled for months to bring Earth's best artists to New Geneva. The alien delegates were already arriving, thought it was too late to back down now. We do what we can with what we have, Lisa said finally. Our people are talented. Maybe we are thinking about this wrong. Maybe we do not need to create matter from sound. Maybe we just need to show them who we are. Paul nodded, but Lisa could tell he was not convinced. After Paul left, Lisa continued her walk through the station. She passed the dining hall where Human crew members were setting up tables for the alien delegates. Some of the aliens could not eat human food, so the kitchen staff had been working for weeks to prepare special meals for dozens of different species. She passed the main auditorium where the cultural presentations would happen. The room was enormous, with seats that could change shape to fit different alien body types. The stage had been equipped with force fields and energy dampeners because some of the alien art forms were dangerous to watch without protection. As Lisa walked, she began to hear a sound. It was faint at first, but as she got closer to the residential section of the station, it became clearer. Someone was playing a violin. The music was sad and beautiful. It made Lisa think of mountains and wind in places far from the cold metal of the space station. She followed the sound through the hallways until she reached the door. To her own quarters, the violin music was coming from inside her home. Lisa opened the door quietly. In the small living room, her 15-year-old daughter Emma was standing by the window playing her violin. Emma's eyes were closed, and she swayed slightly as she played. Her long brown hair moved with her motion. Lisa recognized the song. It was El Condor Pasa, an old melody from Peru that Lisa's own mother had loved. Lisa remembered her mother humming it while she cooked dinner or worked in the garden. It was a song about freedom and longing, about wanting to fly away from. Troubles like a condor bird. Emma finished playing and opened her eyes. She saw her mother standing in the doorway. "Mom, I did not hear you come in." Emma lowered her violin and smiled. "That was beautiful, sweetheart. Where did you learn to play it like that?" "Grandma taught me before we left Earth. She said it was important to remember the old songs even when we are living among the stars." Emma's smile faded a little. "I heard you talking to Ambassador Rodriguez in the hallway yesterday about the cultural exchange. You sounded worried." Lisa sat down on the couch. She was always amazed by how much Emma noticed. Her daughter was smart and sensitive, always picking up on things that adults tried to hide. "I am worried," Lisa admitted. "The other species are bringing incredible things to show us. Things that seem impossible. I do not know if what we have is good enough." Emma put her violin down and sat next to her mother. Maybe good enough is not the right way to think about it. "What do you mean?" "Well, you always told me that the best art comes from the heart, from real feelings. Maybe the aliens can create matter from sound, but can they make someone feel the way Grandma's song makes me feel when I play it?" Lisa looked at her daughter with surprise. Emma was young, but sometimes she said things that were wiser than anything the adults had thought of. "You might be right about that," Lisa said softly. Outside their window, another alien ship appeared in the distance. Its hull was covered in patterns that shifted and changed like living things. In 3 days, the beings inside that ship would watch humans try to prove they belonged among the stars. Lisa reached over and squeezed Emma's hand. Maybe Paul was right to be worried. Maybe humanity really was not ready for this test. But as she listened to the echo of Emma's violin still hanging in the air, Lisa began to wonder if they had been thinking about the problem in the wrong way entirely. Dr. Helen Carter sat in her small laboratory, surrounded by screens showing patterns of sound waves. She had been working for 18 hours straight, drinking coffee and staring at data that made her head hurt, but she could not stop now. She was so close to understanding something important. Helen was the station's expert on alien languages. She had spent years learning how different species communicated with each other. Some aliens used sounds like humans did. Others used colors, smells, or even electrical signals. But Helen had started to notice something strange about music. On her main screen, she had sound patterns from 12 different alien species. Each pattern looked completely different from the others. The Zephyrian crystal songs looked like sharp peaks and valleys. The Veltar light music appeared as smooth flowing curves. The insect-like hive mind rhythms showed up as thousands of tiny dots. But when Helen looked deeper, she found something that made her heart race with excitement. Hidden inside all these different patterns were the same mathematical relationships. The same ratios between high and low sounds. The same space in between beats. It was like finding out that all the different languages in the galaxy were actually dialects of the same ancient tongue. Helen pulled up another file on her computer. This one contained human music from Earth. She had recordings of classical symphonies, rock songs, jazz performances, and folk music from every continent. She started comparing the human patterns to the alien ones. Her hand shook as she saw the results. Human music had the same hidden mathematical patterns as alien music, but there was something more. Human music had extra layers that the alien music did not have. Extra complexity that seemed to make the pattern stronger. Computer, play file Earthfolk Pearl 015. Helen said out loud. The speakers in her lab filled with the sound of Condor Pasa, played on traditional instruments. Helen watched the sound pattern appear on her screen. The melody was simple, but the mathematical structure underneath was beautiful and complex. The ratios between the notes created a spiral pattern that reminded Helen of seashells and flower petals. She ran the pattern through her analysis program. The computer calculated how the sound frequencies would affect different alien brain types. Helen's eyes grew wide as she read the results. According to her calculations, this simple human folk song would create emotional responses in alien species that their own music could not produce. The mathematical harmonies would stimulate parts of alien brains that had never been activated before. Helen jumped up from her chair and ran to the door. She had to tell someone about this discovery. This could change everything about the cultural exchange. But as she reached for the door handle, she stopped. Who would believe her? She was just a language expert, not a musician or a diplomat. And her discovery sounded impossible, even to herself. Helen decided to run more tests first. She needed to be absolutely sure before she told anyone. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Emma Martinez was in her bedroom, practicing her violin. She had been thinking about her conversation with her mother all day. She could see how worried all the adults were about the cultural exchange. Emma had heard some of the crew members talking in the hallways. They said the human artists were getting scared after seeing what the aliens could do. Some of the musicians were talking about changing their performances to try to copy alien techniques. Others were suggesting they should just play background music and hope nobody noticed them. But Emma did not think that was the right approach. Her grandmother had always told her that music was about sharing your true feelings with other people. If you tried to pretend to be someone else when you played, the music would sound fake and empty. Emma picked up her violin and started playing Condor Pasa again. She had been practicing this song for months, but today it felt different. Today she played it thinking about her mother's worried face. She played it thinking about her grandmother back on Earth, who might never see her again if humanity failed this test. As she played, Emma began to hear another sound mixing with her violin. Someone was playing piano in the next room. The piano melody was following along with her violin, creating harmony that made the song sound fuller and more beautiful. Emma stopped playing and listened. The piano continued for a few more notes, then stopped too. Emma opened her bedroom door and walked into the living room. Her mother was sitting at the small electronic piano they had brought from Earth. Lisa's hands were still on the keys, and she looked embarrassed. "I am sorry, sweetheart. I heard you playing, and I could not help myself. That song always makes me want to play along." "Mom, I did not know you could play piano." Lisa smiled sadly. "I used to play a lot when I was younger. Your grandmother taught me the same way she taught you violin. But I stopped playing when I joined the military. I thought it was not practical for a space captain to spend time on music." Emma sat down next to her mother on the piano bench. "Play it again, the part you were playing before." Lisa hesitated, then put her hands back on the keys. She played the melody slowly, her fingers finding the notes from memory. The sound was gentle and warm, completely different from the cold mechanical sounds of the space station. "Now play it while I play violin," Emma said. "Emma, I am not good enough anymore. I have not practiced in years. It does not matter. Just play what feels right." Emma raised her violin and started the opening notes of Condor Pasa. After a moment, Lisa joined in with the piano. The two melodies wove together like two voices singing in harmony. As they played, something magical happened. The worried expression on Lisa's face began to fade. Emma could see her mother remembering what it felt like to create something beautiful instead of just solving problems and giving orders. The song seemed to fill their small quarters with warmth. For a few minutes, they were not a space captain, and her daughter worried about an impossible test. They were just a mother and child sharing music the way families had done for thousands of years. When the song ended, they sat in comfortable silence. "That felt good," Lisa said quietly. "We should practice together more," Emma suggested. "Maybe we could play this for the cultural exchange." Lisa's worried expression returned immediately. "Oh no, sweetheart. That is not possible. The cultural exchange is too important. We need professional musicians, not amateurs like us." But even as Lisa said the words, she found herself thinking about how the music had made her feel. For the first time in weeks, she had felt calm and hopeful instead of worried and afraid. Emma could see her mother's internal struggle. "Mom, what if the aliens do not care about how technically perfect our music is? What if they care about how real it is?" Before Lisa could answer, there was a knock at their door. Lisa opened it to find Dr. Helen Carter standing in the hallway. Helen looked excited and slightly crazy, the way scientists looked when they had been working too long without sleep. "Captain Martinez, I need to talk to you about something. It is about human music and the alien delegates. I think I have discovered something very important." Lisa invited Helen inside. Helen immediately noticed the violin and piano. "Perfect. You have instruments here. Captain, I need you to play something for me. Any human folk song. Something traditional." Lisa and Emma looked at each other. "We were just playing Condor Pasa," Emma said. Helen's eyes lit up. "That is perfect. That is exactly the kind of song I need to test my theory. Please, play it again while I record the sound patterns." Helen pulled out a small device and set it on the table. "This will measure the mathematical relationships in your music. If my calculations are correct, this song should have some very special properties." Lisa was confused, but she could see that Helen was serious about whatever she had discovered. She sat back down at the piano while Emma picked up her violin. They began to play Condor Pasa again. This time, Helen watched her device instead of listening to the music. The small screen showed waves and numbers that changed as the melody progressed. When they finished, Helen stared at her device with amazement. "This is incredible," she whispered. "This is absolutely incredible." "What is incredible?" Lisa asked. Helen looked up at them with wide eyes. "Captain, I think your daughter might be right about the cultural exchange. I think the answer is not trying to compete with alien technology. I think the answer is showing them something they have never experienced before." Helen explained her discovery about the mathematical patterns in music. She told them how human music seemed to have special properties that could affect alien minds in ways their own music could not. "But this is just a theory," Helen said. "I need to test it. I need to play human music for some of the alien delegates and see how they react." Lisa felt a spark of hope for the first time in days. "Do you really think this could work?" "I do not know for sure," Helen admitted. "But I think it is worth trying. And if we are going to test it, we should test it with the most emotionally powerful human music we can find." Helen looked at Lisa and Emma sitting together at their instruments. "I think we should test it with a mother and daughter playing a song that has been passed down through their family for generations." Outside their window, more alien ships continued to arrive at New Geneva. In less than 2 days, the cultural exchange would begin. But for the first time since the preparations started, Lisa began to think that. The next morning, Lisa woke up early and found Emma already awake in the kitchen, eating breakfast and reading something on her tablet. The girl looked up when her mother entered. "Mom, I have been thinking about what Dr. Carter said yesterday, about testing our music on the aliens." Lisa poured herself coffee and sat down across from Emma. What about it? I think we should do it. I think we should practice together and maybe perform at the cultural exchange. Lisa nearly choked on her coffee. Emma, that is impossible. The cultural exchange is not a place for experiments. If we fail, we could embarrass all of humanity. But what if we do not fail? What if Dr. Carter is right and our music really can touch the aliens in a way their own music cannot? Before Lisa could answer, her communication device beeped. She looked at the screen and saw a message from Ambassador Rodriguez. The alien delegates were starting to arrive for informal meetings before the official exchange began. All senior staff needed to report to the main docking bay. Lisa stood up and straightened her uniform. We will talk about this later, sweetheart. Right now, I need to go welcome our guests. But as Lisa walked through the corridors toward the docking bay, she could not stop thinking about Emma's words. What if they really could make a difference? What if the answer to humanity's problem was not hiding their simplicity, but embracing it? The main docking bay was enormous, designed to accommodate ships from many different species. Lisa arrived to find Ambassador Rodriguez and his team waiting nervously near the airlock. Through the transparent walls, she could see the first alien ship preparing to dock. The ship was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. It seemed to be made of living crystal that changed colors as it moved. Lights flowed through its surface, like blood through veins. The Zephyrian delegation, Rodriguez said quietly. They are the ones with the crystal song sculptures. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 beings floated out, and Lisa had to remind herself not to stare. The Zephyrians looked like jellyfish made of light and glass. They moved without touching the ground, their transparent bodies pulsing with soft colors. The lead Zephyrian approached Rodriguez and spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. A translation device on Rodriguez's belt converted the sounds into words. Greetings, human ambassador. We are curious to observe your species' cultural offerings. We have studied your mathematical capabilities and find them adequate, though primitive. Rodriguez smiled politely, but Lisa could see the tension in his shoulders. We are honored by your presence. We hope our presentations will be of interest to you. Indeed, we have brought one of our minor song sculptures for demonstration purposes. Perhaps your people would like to observe its creation? Before Rodriguez could answer, the Zephyrian began to sing. The sound was unlike anything Lisa had ever heard. It was like listening to the birth of stars, beautiful and terrible at the same time. As the alien sang, the air in front of it began to shimmer and solidify. A small sculpture appeared, floating in the air. It looked like a flower made of pure light, but as Lisa watched, she realized it was actually solid matter. The Zephyrian had created something real from nothing but sound. The human delegation stood in awed silence. How could they compete with beings who could create matter from music? After the Zephyrians left for their quarters, more ships arrived. The Corvani delegation came next, tall beings with silver skin who communicated by touching each other's minds. Then came the Veltar, who looked like walking rainbows and painted with light that responded to emotions. Each species demonstrated something that seemed impossible to human science. Each performance made the human delegation feel smaller and less significant. By the end of the day, Rodriguez looked exhausted. Lisa found him sitting alone in his office, staring at reports about the alien capabilities. Paul, we need to talk, Lisa said, closing the door behind her. Rodriguez looked up. If you are here to tell me we should withdraw from the exchange, I already know. We cannot compete with this. We are insects trying to fly with eagles. Actually, I am here to suggest the opposite. I think we should stop trying to compete with their technology and start showing them what makes us human. Lisa told Rodriguez about Dr. Carter's discovery and the theory about human music affecting alien minds. She also told him about her practice sessions with Emma. Rodriguez listened carefully, but shook his head when she finished. Lisa, I understand your hope, But we cannot risk the future of humanity on an untested theory and amateur musicians. If we fail publicly, Earth will never get another chance to join the Galactic Council. But what if we succeed? What if this is exactly what we need to show them? The risk is too great. I am sorry, but I cannot authorize it. Lisa left Rodriguez's office feeling frustrated and disappointed. But as she walked back toward her quarters, she made a decision. Maybe she could not get official approval, but that did not mean she had to give up entirely. She found Emma in their living room, practicing violin. Dr. Carter was there too, sitting on the couch with her recording equipment. How did the alien arrivals go? Dr. Carter asked. Lisa described what she had seen. The crystal song sculptures, the mind-touching, the light painting. Each description made her feel more hopeless about humanity's chances. But that is exactly why your music might work, Doctor. Carter said excitedly. All of these alien arts are about power and technical ability. They are impressive, but they are cold. They do not connect beings to each other emotionally. Dr. Carter, even if you are right, Ambassador Rodriguez will not approve of performance. He thinks it is too risky. Dr. Carter and Emma looked at each other, and Lisa could see they had been talking while she was gone. Mom, Emma said carefully, what if we practiced anyway, just in case? What if we got really good at playing together, and then if the opportunity came up, we would be ready? Lisa wanted to say no. Every practical part of her mind told her this was a bad idea. But another part of her, the part that remembered being young and dreaming of flying among the stars, wanted to say yes. We would have to practice in secret, Lisa said finally. And we would have to accept that we might never get to perform. Emma grinned and picked up her violin. I can live with that. Dr. Carter clapped her hands together. Excellent. I know the perfect place to practice. Chief Engineer Walsh showed me the acoustic testing chambers yesterday. They are designed for testing. Sound equipment, but they will be perfect for music practice too. That evening, the three of them made their way to the lower levels of the station. The acoustic chambers were small rooms with walls that could absorb or reflect sound in different ways. Kevin Walsh, the chief engineer, was waiting for them. Doctor, Carter told me about your theory, Walsh said to Lisa. I think it is worth trying. I can set up the chambers to record your practice sessions and analyze the sound patterns. Lisa sat down at a portable piano that Walsh had brought to the chamber. Emma tuned her violin. Dr. Carter set up her recording equipment. What should we play? Lisa asked. El Condor Pasa, Emma said immediately. It is the song that started all of this. And it is the song that connects us to our family, to our history. Lisa placed her fingers on the piano keys. Emma raised her violin. They began to play the ancient melody, and the small chamber filled with music as they played. Something beautiful happened. The worry and fear that had been weighing on Lisa's heart began to lift. The music reminded her of her mother, of her childhood, of all the reasons she had wanted to come to the stars in the first place. Emma's violin sang with emotion that was pure and honest. She was not trying to impress anyone or prove anything. She was just sharing the music that lived in her heart. When they finished, the chamber was quiet for a moment. That was beautiful, Walsh said softly. If that does not touch alien hearts, then nothing will. Dr. Carter was studying her recordings. The mathematical patterns are even stronger when you play together. The harmony between piano and violin creates additional layers of complexity. Over the next few hours, they practiced the song again and again. Each time, it got better. Not more technically perfect, but more emotionally real, more honest. More human. As they practiced, other crew members began to find excuses to pass by. The acoustic chambers. Amy Collins, the station's nurse, stopped to listen and eventually asked if she could join with her guitar. A maintenance worker named Tom brought his harmonica. Dr. Martinez from the medical bay revealed that she played flute by the end of the evening. What had started as a mother and daughter playing together had become a small group of humans making music, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Not to impress anyone, but to share something beautiful with each other. As they packed up their instruments, Emma looked at her mother. Mom, do you think the aliens will understand what we are trying to share with them? Lisa thought about the question. I do not know, sweetheart. But I think Dr. Carter is right about one thing. We need to stop trying to be something we are not. If we are going to represent humanity, we should represent the best of what makes us human. And what is that? Lisa looked around at the group of people who had spent their evening making music together, not for fame or glory, but simply for the joy of creating something beautiful. Love, she said finally. The love we have for each other, for our families, for our dreams. That is what. The day of the cultural exchange arrived with the sound of alarms that were not really alarms. They were musical tones that the station computer played to wake everyone up gently. But to Lisa, lying in her bed and staring at the ceiling, they sounded like a countdown to disaster. Lisa got up and looked out her window. The space around New Geneva was filled with alien ships. There were so many now that they blocked out the stars. Each ship was different and beautiful and completely impossible by human understanding. She counted at least 30 different species, all waiting to see what humanity could offer. In the next room, she could hear Emma getting ready. Her daughter was humming El Condor Pasa while she brushed her teeth. The sound made Lisa smile despite her nervousness. They had practiced together every night for the past week. Each practice session had been better than the last. Other crew members continued to join them until their small group had become a choir of 15 humans who all knew the song by heart. But this morning, none of that mattered. This morning, Ambassador Rodriguez would present humanity's official cultural offerings to the galaxy, and Lisa and Emma would watch from the audience like everyone else. Lisa got dressed in her best uniform and went to the kitchen. Emma was already there, eating breakfast and reading news reports on her tablet about the other species' presentations. Mom, look at this, Emma said, showing her the tablet. The Kovani demonstrated their memory weaving yesterday in a private session. They made Ambassador Rodriguez experience what it feels like to be born as a Corvani. He said it was the most amazing thing that ever happened to him. Lisa read the report. Rodriguez described the experience as life-changing and beyond human imagination. But she also noticed that he looked tired and confused in the accompanying photos, as if the experience had been overwhelming. And look at this one, Emma continued, scrolling to another article. The Veltar created a light painting that showed the entire history of their species in 5 minutes. Everyone who saw it started crying, even the aliens from other species. Lisa felt her heart sink. How could a simple song compete with experiences that could change people's minds and show the history of entire civilizations? Emma seemed to notice her mother's expression. Mom, do you think we are making a mistake? Do you think our music is too simple? Before Lisa could answer, there was a knock at their door. Dr. Carter stood outside, holding a cup of coffee and looking excited. Good morning, both of you. Are you ready for today? As ready as we can be to watch humanity embarrass itself, Lisa said. Dr. Carter shook her head. Lisa, you need to stop thinking like that. I have been analyzing the recordings from my practice sessions all week. The mathematical patterns in your music are like anything I have seen. When you and Emma play together, you create harmonies that should theoretically affect alien nervous systems in ways that could be revolutionary. Theoretically, Lisa emphasized, we do not actually know if it will work. That is true. But we also do not know that the official presentations will work either. Have you seen the final lineup for today? Dr. Carter pulled out her own tablet and showed them the schedule. The human presentations were listed near the end of the day. A classical orchestra will play a piece by Mozart. A dance company will perform a ballet. 3 painters will create portraits of alien delegates. A poet would read verses about Earth's natural beauty. All these are beautiful, Dr. Carter said, but they are also exactly what the aliens expect from a primitive species. Pretty. but simple art that does not challenge or surprise them. Emma looked at the schedule thoughtfully. Dr. Carter, what if there was a way to add our performance to the program? Not instead of the official presentations, but in addition to them. Emma, we have talked about this, Lisa said. Ambassador Rodriguez has made it clear that unauthorized presentations are not allowed. But what if he changed his mind? What? If something happened today that made him realize we needed to try something different? Lisa was about to explain again why this was impossible when her communication device beeped. The message was from Rodriguez, asking all senior staff to report. To the main conference room immediately, Lisa kissed Emma goodbye and hurried through the corridors to the meeting. She found Rodriguez and his team gathered around a large table, looking at reports from the alien presentations that had already taken place. Ladies and gentlemen, Rodriguez began, we have a problem. The alien presentations this week have been more impressive than we anticipated. Each species is not just showing art. They are demonstrating technologies and abilities that make our own offerings look primitive by comparison. Dr. Janet Moore, the head of the Human Art Delegation, raised her hand. Ambassador, our artists are talented and well prepared. Surely the aliens will appreciate the beauty of human creativity. Rodriguez pulled up a video on the main screen. It showed the Zephyrian crystal song sculpture demonstration from the previous day. As the aliens sang, matter literally appeared. From nothing, forming complex geometric shapes that rotated in the air and changed colors. This is what we are competing against, Rodriguez said. Art that creates new reality. Music that builds matter from sound waves. How do we ask our orchestra to follow an act like that? The room fell silent. Lisa could see the defeat in everyone's faces. Sir, Lisa said, standing up, what if we approach this differently? What if instead of trying to compete with their technology, we showed them something they have never seen before? Rodriguez looked at her tiredly. Lisa, we have discussed this. Your theory about human music affecting alien minds is interesting, but it is too risky to test at such an important event. But sir, what if the risk of doing nothing is greater than the risk of trying something new? Before Rodriguez could answer, an aide rushed into the room. Ambassador, you need to see this. Something has happened during the Hive Mind Collective's presentation. They all turned to look at the main screen as the aide activated a live feed from the presentation hall. The enormous room was filled with alien delegates from dozens of species. On the stage, thousands of insect-like beings moved together in perfect coordination, creating patterns that looked like living artwork. But something was wrong. Many of the alien delegates in the audience looked uncomfortable. Some were leaving their seats. Others appeared to be having difficulty breathing, even though the atmosphere was perfectly controlled. What is happening? Rodriguez asked Dr. Aide. Checked his reports. The hive mind's performance is too intense for some species. The collective consciousness they project is overwhelming individual minds. Several delegates have had to be taken to medical facilities. Lisa watched the screen and felt an idea forming in her mind. Ambassador, may I ask you something? What is the purpose of the cultural exchange? Rodriguez looked confused by the question. To demonstrate that humanity deserves to join the galactic council. No, sir, I mean the deeper purpose. Why do advanced civilizations want to share culture with each other? Rodriguez thought for a moment. To understand each other better. To find common ground between different species. Exactly. And what is happening today? The aliens are showing us their power and technology, but are they helping us understand each other better? Lisa gestured toward the screen, where more alien delegates were leaving the presentation hall. Look at them. They are impressed, but they are also frightened. Each species is trying to prove they are the most advanced, the most powerful. But nobody is trying to connect with anyone else. Dr. Carter, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Captain Martinez is right. I have been monitoring the neural responses of delegates during the presentations. They show amazement and fear, but very little emotional connection. Lisa felt. Her heart started to beat faster. This was the moment. This was a chance to convince Rodriguez that they needed to try something completely different. Ambassador, what if humanity's strength is not in competing with alien technology? What if our strength is in bringing different species together? What if we can show them something they have never experienced? Not just art that impresses, but art that connects? Rodriguez stared at her for a long moment. What exactly are you proposing? Let me and my daughter perform for the delegates. Let us play a simple human song and see if Dr. Carter's theories are correct. If we fail, we can say it was an experiment. If we succeed, we might give humanity something unique to offer the galaxy. The room was quiet except for the sound of the live feed, where the hive mind presentation was ending with several alien species. Looking disturbed and exhausted, Dr. Moore shook her head. Ambassador, this is madness. We cannot let amateurs represent humanity at such an important event. But Rodriguez was looking at the screen, watching alien delegates who seemed more divided than united by the impressive presentations they had. Witness. Dr. Carter, he said finally, how confident are you in your theories about human music affecting alien minds? Dr. Carter took a deep breath. I am confident that the mathematical patterns exist. I am confident that they should create emotional responses in alien nervous systems. But I have never tested it on actual aliens. And Captain Martinez, you really think a simple folk song performed by you and your teenage daughter could succeed? Where our professional artists might fail. Lisa thought about the past week of practice. The presentation hall was the largest room on New Geneva Station. It could hold 5,000 beings, and today every seat was filled. Lisa stood backstage with Emma, watching through a small window as alien delegates from across the galaxy filled the enormous space. The afternoon had been full of impressive human performances. The orchestra had played Mozart beautifully. The ballet dancers had moved like angels. The painters had created stunning portraits. But Lisa could see through the window that the alien delegates looked polite but not amazed. They clapped respectfully, but without excitement. Human art was good, but it was exactly what the aliens expected from a younger species. It was skillful, but not surprising. Now Lisa and Emma stood behind the curtain, waiting for their turn. Emma held her violin in one hand and her bow in the other. Her hands were shaking slightly. Mom, what if we forget the music? What if my violin string breaks? What if they hate it? Lisa put her arm around her daughter's shoulders. Emma, do you remember what your grandmother told you about this song? She said it was about freedom, about flying away from your troubles like a condor bird. That is right. And do you remember what else she said? Emma thought for a moment. She said that when you play music from your heart, it does not matter if you make mistakes. The feelings will come through anyway. Lisa smiled. Exactly. We are not here to prove we are perfect musicians. We are here to share something real with these beings. Something human. Through the window, they could see Ambassador Rodriguez walking onto the stage. He approached the microphone and looked out at the sea of alien faces. Some of the beings had multiple eyes. Others had no eyes at all, but sensed the world in ways humans could not understand. Some glowed with their own light. Others seemed to be made of living shadow. Honored delegates, Rodriguez began, his voice carrying through the hall speakers. We have one final presentation from the human delegation. What you are about to hear represents something unique about our species. This is not our most technically advanced music, but it may be our most honest. Rodriguez paused and looked toward the backstage area where Lisa and Emma waited. I present to you Captain Lisa Martinez and her daughter Emma, who will share with you a song that has been passed down through their family for generations. The curtain rose, and suddenly Lisa and Emma were standing on the huge stage in front of thousands of alien beings. The lights were bright and warm. The silence was so complete that Lisa could hear her own heartbeat. Lisa walked to the piano that had been placed at the center of the stage. It was a simple electronic keyboard, nothing fancy or impressive. Emma stood beside her with her violin. They had decided to perform without microphones, letting their acoustic instruments fill the space naturally. Lisa looked out at the audience. In the front rows, she could see the crystal-like zephyrians pulsing with soft light. Behind them sat the tall silver Corvani, their large eyes reflecting the stage lights. The insect-like hive mind collective occupied an entire section, thousands of individuals moving slightly as one. For a moment, Lisa felt overwhelmed by the enormity of what they were trying to do. These beings had technologies that could create matter from sound, share memories between minds, and paint with pure light. What could two humans with simple instruments possibly offer them? Then Lisa looked at Emma, and everything became clear. Her daughter stood straight and calm, her violin ready. Emma's face showed no fear, only love. Love for the music, love for her family, love for this moment they were sharing together. Lisa placed her fingers on the piano keys. She took a deep breath and began to play the opening notes of El Condor Pasa. The melody was simple and ancient. It had been created by people who lived in mountains and valleys, people who watched condor birds fly overhead and dreamed of that same freedom. The notes were not complicated, but they carried the weight of generations of human longing and hope. After a few measures, Emma raised her violin and joined in. Her bow moved across the strings with gentle confidence, creating a harmony that wrapped around her mother's piano melody like a warm embrace. As they played, something remarkable began to happen in the audience. The alien delegates, who had been sitting politely but distantly throughout the day's presentations, began to change. The Zephyrians' pulsing lights started to synchronize with the rhythm of the music. The colors flowing through their transparent bodies shifted to softer, warmer hues. For the first time since arriving at the station, they looked peaceful. The Corvani, who normally communicated only through direct mind contact, began to sway slightly in their seats. Their large eyes, which usually show cool intelligence, began to glisten with what looked like tears. Even the hive mind collective, thousands of individual insects that always moved as one, began to show something that had never been recorded in their species before. Some individuals moved slightly out of sync with the others, as if the music was awakening something personal and individual within the collective consciousness. But the most amazing change was happening across all species. At once, beings who had been sitting in separate sections, divided by biology and culture, began to turn toward each other. Natural enemies found themselves sharing the same emotional experience. Ancient rivals discovered they could feel the same longing, the same hope. Lisa and Emma continued to play, unaware of the transformation happening in the audience. They were lost in their own world of music and family connection. The melody flowed between piano and violin like a conversation between mother and daughter, expressing love that needed no words. The song told the story of human dreams. It spoke of people who looked up at the sky and wished they could fly. It carried the hopes of parents who wanted better lives for their children. It held the sadness of being far from home and the joy of sharing that journey with people you loved. As the music continued, Dr. Carter watched from backstage with her recording equipment. The readings on her devices showed something that made her hands shake with excitement. Every alien species in the hall was showing neural activity patterns that indicated deep emotional engagement. The mathematical harmonies in the human music were activating parts of alien brains that their own music had never touched. But more than that, the beings were all showing similar patterns. For the first time in the history of the galactic cultural exchange, different species were having the same emotional experience at the same time. The melody reached its climax, with Lisa's piano and Emma's violin dancing around each other in perfect harmony. In the audience, aliens who had never felt individual emotion were experiencing something like love. Beings who had never understood family bonds were witnessing the beauty of a mother and daughter, creating art together. As the song moved toward its conclusion, the hall remained absolutely silent, except for the music. No one moved, no one spoke. Even species that normally could not control their bioluminescence or electrical fields sat perfectly still, not wanting to disturb the moment. The final notes of El Condor Pasa faded away, leaving Lisa's hands resting gently on the piano keys and Emma's violin lowered to her side. Mother and daughter looked at each other and smiled, knowing they had shared something beautiful regardless of how the audience responded. For several seconds, the hall remained in complete silence. 5,000 beings from dozens of worlds sat, motionless, processing what they had just experienced. Then something happened that had never occurred in the history of interspecies gatherings. One alien delegate began to applaud, then another, then another. Within moments, the entire hall erupted in applause, but it was unlike any applause that had ever been heard before. Each species applauded in their own way. The Zephyrians created chiming sounds with their crystalline bodies. The Corvani generated harmonic tones through their breathing. The Veltar flashed brilliant colors. The Hive Mind Collective created a rhythm by clicking their limbs together. But somehow, all these different sounds blended together into a single unified expression of appreciation. For the first time in galactic history, dozens of alien species were making music together, spontaneously, inspired by what two humans had shared with them. Lisa and Emma stood on the stage, holding hands and watching this impossible symphony of alien appreciation. They had done something that no advanced technology could accomplish. They had created a moment of unity between beings who had thought they had nothing in common. Ambassador Rodriguez walked onto the stage with tears in his eyes. He looked out at the audience of alien delegates who were now standing and continuing their multi-species ovation. "Honored delegates," he said into the microphone, his voice filled with emotion, "this is what humanity offers to the galaxy. Not the most advanced technology or the most impressive displays of power. We offer the ability to find connection between different hearts, to build bridges between different souls." The applause continued for several more minutes. When it finally ended, the hall remained standing in respectful silence. Then, something unprecedented happened. The lead delegate from the Ethereal Council of Wisdom, the most ancient and respected species in the galaxy, stood up and spoke. "In 10,000 years of cultural exchanges, we have never witnessed what we have seen today. This performance has shown us something we did not know we were missing. The humans have demonstrated that true." 6 months after the performance that changed the galaxy, Lisa Martinez stood in her new office looking out at a view that still amazed her every day. New Geneva Station had grown 3 times larger, with new sections added to accommodate the thousands of beings who now came there to learn about human culture and emotion. Ships arrived daily from across the galaxy. Not warships or trade vessels, but ships full of artists, musicians, and young beings who wanted to understand what humans call feelings. The station that had once been a small diplomatic outpost was now the most important cultural center. In known space, Lisa's new title was Director of Interspecies Emotional Understanding. It was a job that had never existed before, created specifically for her by the Galactic Council after they witnessed what human music could accomplish. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Emma entered, carrying her violin case and wearing the blue uniform of the newly established Galactic Youth Arts Academy. At 16, Emma had become something she never expected to be, the most famous teenager in the galaxy. "Hi, Mom. How was your meeting with the Andromedian delegates?" Lisa smiled. "Very interesting. They want to establish an emotional arts program on their home world. They asked specifically if you will consider teaching there for a few months." Emma sat down in the chair across from her mother's desk. "That would be amazing, but I do not want to leave the academy here. We are working on something really special." The Galactic Youth Arts Academy had been Emma's idea. 3 months after their performance, she had suggested that young beings from different species should learn together, sharing their cultures and creating new art forms that combined the best of all worlds. The academy now had students from 47 different species. They created music that had never been heard before, mixing human emotion with Zephyrian crystal harmonics, Corvani mind melding, and Veltar light painting. The results were beautiful in ways that no single species could have imagined. "Tell me about this special project," Lisa said, settling back in her chair. Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. "We are preparing a concert for the 1-year anniversary of our performance. But this time, it will not be just humans playing. We have created arrangements of Earth folk songs that can be performed by mixed species groups." Emma opened her violin case and pulled out a datapad. "Look at this. We have arranged El Condor Pasa for a 12-species orchestra. The Zephyrians will provide the harmonic crystal bass. The Corvani will add emotional resonance through mind touch. The hive mind will create rhythmic complexity. And humans will provide the melodic heart that ties it all together." Lisa looked at the arrangement on the datapad. It was incredibly complex, but she could see how each species' abilities would contribute to creating something greater than any of them could make alone. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. But I thought you might want to know that we received some special news today." "What news?" Lisa pulled up a message on her computer screen. "Earth has been officially invited to join the Galactic Council as a full member. Not just as a junior partner, but as the Council's new Director of Emotional Intelligence and Cultural Bridge Building." Emma jumped up from her chair. "Mom, that is incredible! We did it! We actually helped humanity become part of the galactic community. We did more than that," Lisa said softly. "We changed what it means to be part of the galactic community." This was true. In the 6 months since their performance, the entire structure of galactic society had begun to shift. The old system had been based on technological advancement and military power. Species were ranked by how impressive their weapons were and how fast their ships could travel, but the human performance had shown the galaxy something they had been missing. Technology could create amazing things, but it could not create connection between hearts. Power could force cooperation, but it could not inspire love. Now, for the first time in galactic history, species were being evaluated not just on their technical abilities, but on their capacity for emotional intelligence and cultural bridge building. The qualities that had once been seen as weaknesses, love, empathy, family bonds, were now recognized as the most advanced characteristics a civilization could develop. "Dr. Carter wants to see us later," Emma said, sitting back down. She has been analyzing the recordings from student performances at the academy. She says the emotional resonance patterns are getting stronger every month. Dr. Helen Carter had become the galaxy's leading expert on what was now called emotional harmonics. Her discovery that human music could affect alien minds had led to an entirely new field of science. Universities across the galaxy now offer degrees in interspecies emotional communication. "What does she think is causing the improvement?" Lisa asked. "She thinks it is because the students are not just learning each other's music. They are becoming friends, real friends. Some of the Corvani students have started forming individual emotional bonds instead of just collective mind links. The hive mind students are developing personal preferences and individual creativity." Lisa nodded. This was perhaps the most amazing result of the human influence on galactic culture. Species that had never experienced individual emotions were discovering what it meant to be unique persons instead of just parts of a group mind. "And the Zephyrians?" Lisa asked. Emma grinned. 3 of them asked me what it feels like to hug someone. I showed them, and now they keep trying to hug everyone. They are not very good at it because they do not have solid bodies, but they try to wrap their energy fields around people in what they call warm embraces. The thought of crystal beings trying to hug people made Lisa laugh. It was exactly the kind of beautiful, impossible thing that happened now that different species were learning to share emotions. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Emma said, her expression becoming more serious. "Of course. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we had not performed that day? If Ambassador Rodriguez had not given us those 15 minutes? Lisa considered the question. "I think about it sometimes. I think humanity would have eventually joined the Galactic Council based on our technology and diplomatic skills. But I do not think the galaxy would have changed the way it has. Do you think we would have missed our chance to teach the galaxy about love? Maybe. Or maybe someone else would have found a different way to show them. Love is not something. Humans invented Emma. It exists everywhere, in every species. We just learned how to express it in a way that could be shared. Emma picked up her violin and played a few notes of Condor Pasa. The melody still sounded beautiful, but now it carried harmonics that had been influenced by months of playing with alien musicians. It was still recognizably the ancient Peruvian song, but it had grown into something larger. I have been thinking about Grandma a lot lately, Emma said, lowering her violin. I wish she could see what her song has become, Lisa smiled. I think she can see it in a way. Every time you play that melody, you carry her love forward. Every time an alien student learns to express individual emotion, you are sharing what she taught you about the power of music to connect hearts. Emma nodded and began to play again. This time, Lisa joined in at the small piano she kept in her office. As they played together, the melody filled the room and drifted out into the corridor. Other beings working in the nearby offices began to stop and listen. A group of Corvani students paused in their conversation to share the emotional resonance of the music through their mind links. Two Zephyrian researchers began to pulse with gentle light in rhythm with the song. A maintenance worker from the Veltar species started to glow with colors that matched the mood of the melody. Within minutes, the corridor outside Lisa's office had become an impromptu gathering of different species, all connected by the simple human song that had started it all. As Lisa and Emma finished playing, they could hear the beings in the hallway expressing appreciation in their various ways: harmonic tones, light flashes, gentle clicking sounds, and soft whispers. You know what I love most about this? Emma said, looking out at the diverse group gathered outside their door. What? We are not performing for them anymore. We are performing with them. The music belongs to all of us now. Lisa looked at her daughter and felt a deep sense of pride and amazement. Emma had grown from a teenager practicing violin in her bedroom to a young woman who was helping to reshape galactic civilization. But more than that, she had remained true to the values her grandmother had taught her about music coming from the heart. Emma, do you know what I think your grandmother would say if she could see all of this? Emma thought for a moment. She would say that music was always meant to bring people together. She would say we just helped the galaxy remember something it had forgotten. I think you are right. As they packed up their instruments, Lisa reflected on how much had changed since that nervous morning 6 months ago, when they had stood on the stage not knowing if anyone would understand their simple song. Now, Condor Pasa was performed simultaneously on thousands of worlds every day. Each species added their own cultural elements while maintaining the core human message of love, connection, and the beauty found in simple moments shared between family members. But perhaps the most important change was not in the galaxy's art or technology.